Hello everyone. It is in fact your boy, Discount Steve of the Dead, back with another video. The one video per year that you're gonna get. Because I'm lazy and I don't like DSP. And that means I don't like talking about them as well. Welcome to this installment. I'm gonna call these videos something now. I had to give them a title because this is basically the second video that I made about them talking about video games right now. So I'm gonna call this Baxter's Bits, where facts trump Philip. As you know, in the last week, DSP made some pretty spicy arguments. The Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, which is an expansion for Elden Ring. So I've basically edited down the pre-streams in my trusty program, DaVinci Resolve, which is a free editing tool that DSP can download right now, but he won't because he's fucking lazy. I summarized the most important parts. We're not gonna go through the entire pre-stream, obviously, because both of them are in total 3 hours long, and that's just way too long. Additionally, before I start, I wanted to state that I have absolutely zero stonks in Souls or Soulspawn games. I played Dark Souls 1 Remastered, didn't enjoy it, didn't feel like playing the other installments, so I gained absolutely nothing by defending Elden Ring, FromSoft, or Miyazaki. With that being said, let's get right into the February 22nd pre-stream.
Because it's time to get reamed up the butt once more by Elden Ring's DLC, The Shadow of the Erdtree.
Yeah, of course, we gotta start out with some nice scat, obviously. So, whenever I summarized a section of DSP's pre-stream, I wrote myself some notes so I know what he actually talked about in the section that I'm going to skip next. So then he talks about the trailer and his theories. He calls a theory from one commenter a vault of bullshit. Very nice. And talks about his second run and when and where to continue. Obviously asks people to submit the trailer for a react. The react actually happened yesterday and I think someone submitted a trailer analysis. I didn't watch it. Let's skip this part and go to the actual first argument that DSP brings forward.
But the thing that really gets me, and I think everyone right now is scratching our heads about, okay? The DLC is $39.99.
Yeah, and?
It's the most expensive DLC FromSoft has ever sold.
Okay.
So, that being said,
big ups. Shout out.
with that price tag on it, right? You have to believe it's going to be incredibly long. If the main game was $70 and was 80 to 100 hours long, obviously you would expect that a DLC that's $40 is going to probably be around 40 hours long.
Amazing. So we're already into the first segment and I already got to correct DSP because this is where facts trump Philip. And let's go into the fucking facts. And the facts are, in fact, Elden Ring Shadows of the Erdtree is not a DLC. Shocking, I know. But in the description of the product on a digital storefront called Steam, the developers described the game as follows. The Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. Features and all yada yada yada. So it's an expansion, it's not a DLC. Great job. We already got this one wrong. Second of all, of course, there is a stigma that greedy developers charge more for less content. But this doesn't seem to be the case for a company which never had a history of doing that in the past, right? But DSP is a neurotic person. He loves being negative about things. He loves shitting on things. He loves complaining about things. So we see a price hike, we immediately gotta assume that someone is doing something wrong, right? It's not that you're gonna get more content for this increased price, right? No, we gotta be negative, and this negativity is gonna land him into a spicy situation.
Now, you could be wrong. Maybe they're going to rip everybody off. Maybe because they took 2 years to make it and they've decided to beat it, to blow it up as much as they have, hype it up this much. Maybe they're just going to rip everybody off and overcharge. I don't know.
Yo, what?
But I'll tell you this. If you buy that sucker and you beat it in 10 hours, people are going to be pissed as shit. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? You charge just $40 for 10 hours of content, right? And that's the thing, like typical DLCs for FromSoft games clock in around 10 hours long, right? Take a look at the expansions for Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 3. They're not that lengthy. They're good, but they're not that lengthy. Typically, they've gone for around 20 bucks. So for this one to be 40, that's a big ask.
Why the fuck are we even going down this hypothetical? It's so unnecessary and useless. I could talk about how I'm going to have a car accident tomorrow. why would I ruminate on that? Why would I think about that? DSP, your fucking head could explode tomorrow. Your son Jasper could be dead because of a fucking, I don't know, an accident at your house. Your wife actually kills your cat. It could happen. Why are we talking about this? Absolutely useless to go down this route. It's also not that big of an ask when all signs actually point towards FromSoft being a reputable software developer. Also, I want to add that the metric of measuring game hours versus dollars spent is sometimes useful, yes, but it is definitely not a universal tool to measure how good or bad video game content is. There is focused single-player games for $30, which have 10 hours of gameplay content, which are objectively better, or sometimes just subjectively better to more people, than live service games that cost $60 and have 100 hours of content, but the content you're doing inside the game is repetition. Tons of repetition. Taking the same checkpoints, fighting the same enemies, the same enemy types, just rehashed. Not a good look here. Let's continue.
Okay, now also, they're selling a special edition of the game that includes the original Elden Ring, also packaged with the DLC, and that's going to sell for $79.99. Okay, so that's $80 for the complete package of Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But the weird part about that is you can buy Elden Ring for like $10, $5.
Where?
You can find discs of it everywhere online for cheap.
Oh, everywhere.
You know what I mean?
No, in fact, I actually don't know what the fuck you mean, because first of all, special editions like this are pretty common practice. Like, see Cyberpunk, when the complete edition came out for Cyberpunk 2077, it was $30 base game plus $30 expansion, which is a pretty reasonable ask. Where the hell can you find Elden Ring and buy it for about $5 to $10 according to DSP? Well, I actually did the fucking research, so let's go down that rabbit hole, shall we? So here is the SteamDB page for Elden Ring. 92% positive ratings, 71,000 people in-game right now. Big ups, Elden Ringers. And we go down to the price history of that game. Since release, that game has been a consistent 60 euros, which is the equivalent in dollars. Since release, consistent 60 euros, and the lowest recorded sales price was the last winter sale, 40% off at 36 euros. Okay, you might say, not convinced, that's just Steam, maybe PSN is different. Alright, let's go to a key reseller, which is All Key Shop. Elden Ring for PC, a key that you can activate in Europe, costs 42 euros. You're gonna add some headroom to that, so it's likely more 45 euros. And we can even look in the history. The pale blue line, or the gray line, is the official storefront prices, while the light blue line is the key reselling prices. And the cheapest recorded key selling price from one key shop was almost on New Year's Eve, December 30th, from Bitcodes for 18 euros. With some headroom, probably 20 euros. So we're nowhere near fucking 10 euros at this point. You might not be convinced, you say. That's still PC. You're right, but there's also a PS5 section right here. And in the PS5 section, 39 euros. And this is when, for this you only get an account, which means you get the credentials sent to you, and then you can play Elden Ring on said account. It's not like you get the code, or you get money that you can spend on the game. And even if we look at the history here, in fact, this is funny, the official stores have been consistently cheaper than the key selling shops, or the account selling shops. It's been fluctuating a lot since last fall, I don't know why that is the case. Again, we're nowhere near close $10. You might still not be convinced. So let's go through all the listings that we have on eBay. The first one is a boosting service, the second one is a boosting service. Now here we have one, a new listing for PlayStation 4. That's the wrong console. Standard edition for $30, again for the wrong console. PS5, here we have one, trending auction. No, that's still, it's in the PS5 box, but it says PlayStation 4. Great job, dude. Okay, then we have GameStop pre-order things, which is 10 euros. Then we have some kind of premium collector's edition, brand new sealed for 2,000. Best offers. Then we have Game and Extra, brand new sealed for $60. Then we have PS4 games for $30. Then we have another boosting service for $10. And then we have the first PS5 copy of the game, which is $36 at 18 bits. We are not even getting close to the price right here. These are empty boxes. Wow, empty, no game. Wow, why are they doing $10 for that? Dude, DSP could have made money instead of just giving away the boxes. Duh. Anyway, that's about it. Yeah, they're even selling the case for fucking $7. Wow, amazing. If you're a case collector, there you go. You still might not be convinced. Let's go to Amazon. Oh, but we can see. Shadow of the Erdtree edition, $80. Base game, $50. PS4, $40. Xbox, $50. So where the fuck is this argument coming from? This is the absurdest case of trust me, bro. My source is that I made it the fuck up. Let's continue.
So essentially, they're overinflating the value of the original game back to $40 just because you need the original game to access the DLC. And I don't know if I agree with that. I do feel like that's kind of a dirty trick. You know, if you're someone who played the original, good for you. You could just easily you go right back to the spot to access the DLC for free. But what about people who maybe now I'm jumping on? So now I gotta pay $80 to play the full game? Why? The original game is supposed to be like $5-10, and then if I bought the DLC, so this should be $35. You know what I'm saying? So what they're doing, they are monstrously inflating the value. In fact.
So number one, bad math. He said that the base game, which would be €5 in his mind, in his pipe dream, plus the expansion would be $35 when it would be $45, since the expansion is $40, not $30. Alas, he is the business finance major here with his A certification, a piece of paper he can wipe his fucking ass with. Anyway, the spicy boy that he is, DSP of course claims that FromSoft is purposely inflating the value of the base game when the base game has never been sold for less than $36 officially and less than $20 unofficially. What actually might have happened here is DSP saw a listing on eBay for an Elden Ring PS5 case, might not even be the game, for $5 as a bid. The starting bid was probably like $5. And he say, oh look, didn't read the description, probably didn't even read the title, and thought, hey look, people can buy this game on eBay for $5. Duh. And finally, I feel like I'm defending FromSoft too much, but $80 for the special edition, in conclusion, is actually a pretty fair price, because it's the lowest recorded sales price for the base game, which is 33% off at $40, plus $40 for the expansion, for everyone who hasn't played Elden Ring yet. So that's actually pretty reasonable. DSP's, of course, he's a professional time waster, and I love people who waste my time. So we're gonna skip, and this is his next argument.
I can tell you this, they already put them on here. It's already here. Holy shit, yeah. So, Shadow of the Erdtree edition is $79.99, and they have a Shadow of the Erdtree Deluxe edition, which also includes a digital art book and OST. That's it. It's just a digital art book and OST, and it's fucking $20 more.
Yeah. Additional content.
That's just crazy. It's already there.
Additional content costs more.
The trailer came out like 5 hours ago. It's already fucking here.
Yeah, what are they supposed to do? Wait 3 days before the release date in order to open pre-orders? Like, of course they're gonna cash in on the hype. Marketing 101 here. Jesus Christ. Let's go for the final argument.
So anyway, yeah, so there you have it. I don't know how much they're maybe they're gonna charge $40 again. Maybe they reinflated the cost of Elden Ring, because I know it wasn't $40. Last time I checked, that thing was going for real cheap. And now it sounds like they're reinflating the value of the game again for no good reason besides they want extra money because the DLC is coming out.
And now we're touching the ground of slander. Why the fuck would you say that FromSoft purposely raises their unofficial price of the base game? Unofficial. It's not the actual price. Unofficial prices, like resellers on eBay and key resellers don't dictate market prices of a game. The digital storefronts do. But according to him, the lowest recorded key reseller or disc reseller price, can't believe I'm saying this, should be the base price of the game. When your game has been on eBay and been sold for $10, that's the actual value of your game right now. It has been sold once for $10, that means all other copies should also be sold at $10. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? And now he's going off on his wrong assumption that he just built up to accuse the developers of greed. The very same thing that he's being accused of. By the way, I feel the need to remind you of this. The expansion hasn't even released yet. Why are we judging? Anyway, let's move on. Of course, for the rest of this segment, he talks about the collector's editions, respecking talents, when a second run resumes, and he is of course excited. Don't forget about T. Just imagine me in a Los Santos cap with a denim vest for like a second while I do this sound. There you go. I think I pulled it off quite nicely. I want to actually measure how long the segment was in total. So right now we can see 38 minutes on the starting segment. That's when he starts. And the rest of the Elden Ring segment goes until here. So that's 54 minutes. We do quick forbidden math. And that's actually about 16 minutes. So that segment is 16 minutes long. Remember this because we're going to come back to it and it's going to be interesting. Now, let's go further down the rabbit hole. Of course, someone had to pick up the slack and actually made fun of DSP for stating the things that we just talked about. And it was Dear Josh Prime Gaming. Thank you very much for that, by the way. He releases a video riffing on DSP for the arguments that we've just seen. And in summary, Josh argues that FromSoft's additional content under Miyazaki has always been worth their money in the past. The expansion has the same disk size of 60 gigabytes as the base game. Plus, Miyazaki is a serial underseller. Miyazaki has said in the past that the base game takes around 20 to 30 hours to complete. While that is far from the truth, average completion times are between 60 and 100 hours. Also, Josh is pointing out that the game has never been sold on digital storefronts for less than $10 in the past. DSP, he's getting negative comments on his pre-stream, catches wind that someone talked about him negatively on the internet again, so he pre-copes in a nice tweet that I have up right here. By the way, Relaxing Gaming is back. I didn't think that Relaxing Gaming was gone. I think it must have come back with the milk. Anyway, let's read the tweet together. Apparently my podcast discussing the Elden Ring DLC, not a DLC, only 4 hours after it was announced, before more info is known, wrong, is being passed around as if I was ignorant or purposefully ignoring known facts. Which of course is wrong. I'll discuss it and far more on Friday's show. Well, it's not a show, it's a pre-stream. And in the timeline, that's the February 23rd. So we're gonna get right into what DSP has to say about it.
How about we start at the beginning, meaning going back to Wednesday, because I want to address something that apparently happened on my day off that I wasn't aware of, but happens all the time. As you know, there's a ton of people on the internet who just basically are out to always make me look bad no matter what it is I say and do. I'm constantly misrepresented, I'm constantly misreferenced, and I'm constantly held in a negative light, even though there's really no valid reason for it. Now, if there's a valid reason for it, that's one thing. But we've got a case here where literally, apparently, there's a group of people who are really angry with me, and I don't know why, because literally what they're angry at me for didn't happen.
If that's the case, it absolutely sounds like that you probably didn't even listen to that criticism.
Okay, let's recap and go back to Wednesday's show. All right, on this very show, the Level 1 podcast back on Wednesday, I had a big segment about Elden Ring's DLC, The Shadow of the Erdtree. At that moment when I record the podcast, which is starting around 11 a.m., okay, 11 a.m. Pacific time, all right, I talked about everything that was known at the time about this DLC. The price, the features, because we had seen some of those features shown in the release trailer, and speculation. At that point, 11 a.m. Pacific time, the trailer for this DLC had only been present on the internet for 4 hours. It had released around 7 a.m. There was no other information. Everything was speculation. Now, what ended up happening was, over the course of the day, more information was released because Miyazaki, the guy behind Elden Ring and other FromSoft games, was interviewed. And when he was interviewed, he gave a ton of additional information about the DLC that was all positive stuff that, number one, is exactly what Elden Ring fans are looking for, and number two, actually answered a lot of the questions that we posed together when we were talking about this DLC back on Wednesday.
So of course he goes to the fence to saying, I didn't have enough information because there was no interview available at the time, right? Well, guess what? We got the fucking facts. The trailer released at 7 a.m. PST. And the exclusive interview with Hidetaki Miyazaki from IGN FanFest 2024 released an hour later at 8 AM. How do I know this? Well, we're gonna employ a little thing called forbidden math. As you can see, we are on the IGN website for the interview. We scroll down a bit and we see that it has been posted on February 2024, 5 PM. Oh, but my dear viewers, don't fret. This is local time and I'm living in Central Europe. And Central Europe, as you might know, if you employ something called forbidden math, is 9 hours ahead of Pacific Standard Time. So you take 5, it's 12 PM now. You take 4 off, then you have the 9-hour difference and it's 8 AM. Ooh, what does that mean? That means that the information that DSP could have was available at the time that he flopped out of bed and got late onto on stream, possibly because due to a traffic jam in his hallway. Thanks, Cat, I guess. Then he has an irrelevant recap of the last restream. We just get right to the next argument.
This was my border on Wednesday. Now, if you don't think that I'm hyped for this DLC and I'm positive about it, why would I make my whole border characters from FromSoft games with Elden Ring at the top? If you're not even aware, which you might not be, Elden Ring was my runner-up for Game of the Year when it came out. It was a very close battle that year for what game was going to win Game of the Year for me. I love Elden Ring.
I love Elden Ring. Minimalist form of defense that he can bring up against the argument brought before him, right? So in order to deflect from the actual criticism, he changes what the criticism is about, basically builds a straw man saying, oh, these are just Elden Ring defenders who think that I said something negative about their game, which they like. Wait a second, now that I think about it, this actually happened before. Oh wait, it actually did happen before. Remember Metal Gear Solid 3? People were actually criticizing the way DSP was playing the game badly. And then he reinterpreted that criticism as the people criticizing him, disliking him because they are rabid Kojima fanboys. Of course. What does the narcissistic mind go to as the easiest form of defense? The meme of the internet that has died. It's the no you meme. So then we have more irrelevant second run discussion and we get into the next argument.
So, I'm under the impression that most of the things I said about the Elden Ring DLC on Wednesday were very, very positive, right? The one thing that was a question mark for me was the price. It's a $40 DLC. That's the most expensive ever expansion for a FromSoft game, or I should say a Elden Ring, a Soulsborne style game. And in previous iterations, if you looked at the price of DLCs that they had released, I think the most expensive one had been like 20. Don't quote me on that because I might be wrong, and usually the DLCs would be around 10 to 15 hours long. So I'm thinking, man, if this DLC is $40, you've got to think it's probably going to be pretty lengthy. Like if the original game was $70, well, if it was 60, I can't remember. And the original game was, 80 to 100 hours long, then you would think that this DLC would probably minimum be 40 hours long, right? Maybe even longer than that, right? But again, my question was, I don't know. I'm curious.
That's not a question.
How long this DLC will be. Hopefully it's not a ripoff. Hopefully it's not, because we realize there's so much hype for this DLC that we're going to charge whatever we want, right?
And we are at the same point that we were at the first pre-stream. He is still speculating about, maybe he's still catastrophizing about the game. Oh, maybe it could be a ripoff. I just don't hope that I pay $40 and it's just 10 hours of content. There is absolutely zero indication that FromSoft, a reputable game developer, would like to rip you off now that they've made tons of money from Elden Ring. Let's continue.
Now, I know for a fact that Elden Ring has been very inexpensive to buy. I just don't think it's been the digital version, but I know that Elden Ring's been inexpensive to buy because I've seen copies of it listed online for very cheap, like 10 or 20 bucks, okay?
Where?
So what happens is these digital marketplaces overinflate the price of the games and never drop them. So
no.
During the actual show, I attempted to go into the store and see what's the price, and I couldn't figure it out, and people revealed, it's still $40. Like, wow, that's kind of a lot. 2 years later.
No, it's not $40. That's the lowest recorded sales price. The actual price is still 60.
To be charging $40 for this game, all right?
They're not charging 40, they're charging 60. You're wrong again.
But actually, if you look online, you could get copies used for like 10, 20 bucks. I've seen it actually like clearance on sale online for like 10, 20 bucks new.
Where?
But it depends on the time of
Again, the source is just I made it the fuck up.
year and where you're buying it from, okay?
My god, dude. I can't even why? No, just continue.
But anyway, so this is what we talked about on the show on Wednesday. Very, very positive. I'm excited for this DLC. It looks great to me, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm already making plans to return to Elden Ring in May because of it. So that's where we left it, right? So yesterday, as you know, I check comments that are coming in on my videos from time to time. I have to approve a bunch of them. And I start to notice a pattern. All of a sudden, I start seeing a bunch of really negative comments coming in on my podcast from yesterday.
Oh
I'm
no.
like, what is going on? Where are all these negative comments coming from? All right. And they're all around the same topic. Okay. You are misinformed about the Elden Ring DLC. Why are you spreading mass information about the Elden Ring DLC? What is this hot take that
What the fuck is mass information?
you have about the Elden Ring DLC? It's completely wrong. You're an old dinosaur who doesn't know what he's talking about, and you're just trying to create clickbait.
Oh, he gets super hung up about that. He is pissy about that.
What? So I went back and I looked at the video. The title of the video is like huge gaming news, Elden Ring DLC. It doesn't say Elden Ring DLC sucks. Elden Ring DLC is a ripoff. You know, it doesn't say any of that. It's actually a very positive titling of the video.
I love how he's looking towards the ceiling for help. Whenever he's imagining something, you gotta notice this. This is one of his tells. Either he's making up bullshit or he's trying to think about making up shit on the fly. He's looking towards the ceiling. Huge news is not really a positive titling, my dude. Huge news can be both positive and negative, so it's pretty neutral. At the same time, I'm not sure how you can actually be surprised about this. Like, he told a lie about FromSoft. He accused them of greed, and people are rightfully angry with him. Yeah, I don't think I trust you and you really enjoy this game. You enjoy that this game is being enjoyed by your viewers giving you monies. Of course, the clickbait argument doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know where that one came from. It might be something he made up, or people are just, they just went a step too far.
If you actually look at the description of the video, there's timestamps. It'll tell you directly where to start watching my segment about the Elden Ring DLC.
And this show wouldn't be called Where Facts Trump Philip if we wouldn't have the facts, because you can actually go onto the original video right now. Shout out to Meerkat Mob, streaming about Elden Ring shit right now, which I'm talking about. And you can go down into the description, and as of this day, which is fucking 5 days later, there are no timestamps. Dude, you are lacking. What the fuck are you talking about? There are no timestamps. Additionally, there is no OP Boon in the comments. Thin ice, dude. Thin ice. You gotta get that fucking comment right up in there. Okay, let's continue.
Okay, so there's really no excuse for someone to be misinformed about what's said in the podcast. It doesn't have a clickbait title that's erroneous or negative for the sake of getting people to click on it. And you can easily access that segment of the show by looking at the timestamp in the description.
No, there are no timestamps.
And so I'm like, I'm really confused.
So am I.
I continue to read the comments, and it's so ridiculous. It's like, so you're slamming the Elden Ring DLC for being $40, but how dare you slam a DLC that's 60 gigabytes in size?
Yeah.
The size of the entirety of the map of Limgrave.
Yeah.
A DLC with 10 boss fights, 8 new weapons, blah blah blah, and it keeps going on. And all of the comments are kind of like saying this now. And I'm not saying one or two. There's like dozens of comments are coming in like this. And I'm like,
millions even.
I'm thinking to myself, what happened? I'm like, I think I know what happened.
Oh.
Someone, of course, probably one of my idiotic haters, probably posted up an out of context clip or reference to my podcast. Basically, maybe taking the one segment where I was speculating and saying, man, I hope it's worth $40 because it could be a ripoff. Maybe they're going to just overcharge for it because you've been waiting for so long and they know there's so much hype.
Yeah, then why even talk about it? Fucking don't mention it. Why even bring it up?
Now, that was one tiny moment of speculation. amongst a giant segment of my podcast that was incredibly positive about this DLC. But how much do you want to bet that's the clip that was taken? And likely they went to, like, for example, what do you call it? They probably went to like a Reddit or something, right? Like a fan Reddit or something like that, and posted it up there.
No. Tiny segment in a huge portion of the podcast. We did the math. It's 5 minutes of talking about the speculation about the Erdtree expansion versus 16 minutes of talking about the Erdtree expansion in total. So it's around a third. I wouldn't call that a tiny segment. Like, a third is a sizable proportion. So anyway, he has an irrelevant Elden Ring recap, brain fart. I don't know why he brings this even up. He even realizes that he's talking bullshit, so let's get to the next segment.
So what really happened, right? And exactly, Agent Coop says you even started a second run. How could anyone say there's Elden Ring hate on this channel?
I wouldn't say there's Elden Ring love as well.
But again, this is exactly the situation I live in. You guys got to understand, especially those of you who maybe are newer comers here, and you ask questions such as, why do so many people hate Darkside Phil? This is why. Because completely out of my power, completely out of the realm of anything that I've done wrong or can control.
Nothing he could do. He did everything correct.
People always misrepresent me in the eyes of...
Always, by the way. Always. Nobody has ever quoted him correctly. Everyone who quotes DSP always quotes him wrong. Even his own mother.
The public. And they'll say that I did things I didn't do. They'll say I said things I didn't say. They'll take things out of context, right? They'll take rage moments from me playing a night of fighting games where maybe twice I rage, and they'll say that was the whole stream, right? That's what they do.
I mean, it's not the entirety of the stream. Like, it's a compilation. These things are called rage compilations. Of course, people trim the fat, which is like the boring bits. So, anyway, you do get angry about these games, so shut the fuck up. Anyway, obviously he moves on to full victim mode. I'm always the one being targeted. I'm always the one being misrepresented. They always misrepresent me when I never did anything wrong. Well, guess what, DSP? In this case, you actually did something wrong. Next one.
Where did this come from, right? I hate to say it, people on the internet are far too leaning towards being so into defending things they like.
Ah, there we go. People on the internet are far too defensive these days. We got it. Yeah, modern times argument.
For no good reason, all right? You don't need to defend Elden Ring. Everyone knows it's good, right? I don't think everyone's gonna...
You don't need to talk shit about its expansion when it's not even out yet either.
Sit here and say, wow, Elden Ring is terrible. Who's gonna say that? It's objectively good. It may not be everyone's favorite game, but it's still objectively good. You don't need to go defend it, especially on a podcast like mine. So, you know, I don't get a ton of views. I'm not a popular guy. No one's really listening to my opinions as a revelation of something they didn't realize before. So it doesn't even make much sense to me that this would be a big thing.
And of course now he's coping by saying that, oh, I'm just a small guy. People don't actually listen to me, so you don't have to listen to anything I say. Then why post it on the fucking internet, dude? Why go down the rabbit hole of saying that the Elden Ring expansion might be a ripoff? Just don't talk about it. I've read somewhere, or someone told me, a great part of good conversation and great charisma, most of the time, like 90% of that is just knowing what not to say. That part that you said about the FromSoft purposefully inflating the price of their base game because it might be $40 for 10 hours of content is just one of those 90% of things that you shouldn't have said in that situation. Just apologize and say, I shouldn't have speculated. I shouldn't have said that. And I do not believe that they are greedy developers. And the situation would be done and over with. But alas, he is a lol cow. He gotta farm the drama.
And I don't understand why people fall for it either. Because it's a trick, is what it is. It's, oh, you fell into the black hole of hating on Darkside Phil because Philman tricked you into thinking he said something he didn't do. Because in truth,
there's no trick.
Again, the comments people were leaving on the podcast don't even make sense. They're acting like I don't like Elden Ring. If you actually just watched the podcast, you would know I do. I say right in the podcast, I'm doing a second run, can't wait to get back into it, so many positives, excited to jump back in. How could you think I hate the game? Or I'm misrepresenting the game in a negative light on purpose for clickbait views? What clickbait views did I get?
This is only part of the argument, and the clickbait thing is just a straw man.
I don't even understand what they're talking about. But the thing that really kills me
The thing that really kills me is that you cannot stop fucking snorting. Of course, he's trying to bring it all around to what I said earlier. If you listen to the wrong people, you're completely wrong about the things that you ever said about DSP. Even if you are wrong only on one occasion, it makes all the rest of your arguments incorrect as well. Like, there's no black hole of hating on DSP. Rather, there is a multitude of reasons to dislike him for. I mean, ask different people, of course you get different opinions or reasons why they dislike DSP. Not that deep, as Mr. Moist would say.
Okay, is a lot of the things that people reference to say, oh, you were wrong, is information that wasn't publicly available when I did my podcast on Wednesday. Right now, it's 11:26 a.m. This pod...
Do I actually need to get out this fucking sound again? There you go.
Podcast starts between 11 and 11:10 a.m. At 11:10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 21st of February, none of the information about this DLC that people are using to reference and say, oh, you're wrong, was available. No one knew it was 60 gigabytes in size. No one knew the map would be the size of Limgrave from the original game. No one knew there were 10 bosses. No one knew there were 8 new weapons. No one knew anything.
Sorry for the spam, but it had to be done. It had to be done.
This came out in an interview with Miyazaki later in the day. I think it was IGN, but don't quote me on that. I think it was. But it came out and then it's like, wow, this is all awesome. Positive information about the DLC.
As you have heard with the incredibly annoying incorrect buzzer spam, of course this, I'm going to reiterate. The trailer released at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The article came out at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And DSP is being a fucking lolcow on stream 6 days a week, starting at 11:15 a.m. Pacific Time. So then we have some irrelevant hype beasting, which we're gonna skip. And we're finally at the last argument. Thankfully, let's go.
But as for these people who are misinformed, all I can say is, please do more research before you come crap on someone. Like, my first reaction is, oh, this is just a bunch of trolls. But then as I start to read more of the comments, I realize it's not. These are people who actually really like Elden Ring, and they're pissed at me for something I didn't do. Nothing I ever said. I'm really head scratching. Like, why would you be so adamant to jump down someone's throat and defend something when you don't even know what they said? You just immediately go into defense mode before even watching the podcast you're commenting on. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's also pretty insane that you immediately go into the fucking projection and accuse people of not doing enough research when all the available information that was available to him at the time was right there, and you just would have needed to look it up and not be a fucking irresponsible speculator. Of course, this all resulted in another tiny clap back from the King of Hate, which we have in form of a comment on his initial pre-stream about the topic. So let's read it together. To all the people being censored by a hack YouTuber who purposefully edited this podcast, didn't happen, to make it seem like I said Elden Ring DLC is not a DLC, I did not. Never happens anywhere in this video. Speculation that it could be a scam, but also could be amazing, is not the equivalent of the clickbait BS that the idiot made about me. Yeah, just don't say that developers are scammers out of nowhere. Leaving comments on this video is a waste of your time, because they will not be punished and you'll be promptly banned. Perhaps actually watch my real podcast here, which isn't edited to exclude 30 minutes of me being hype over the DLC, planning to resume my second run to make content around it, and you understand how stupid you look right now. Thanks. Of course we know that's a lie. It's not 30 minutes, it's 16 minutes, and 5 of those were the misinformation at best and outright slander at worst about the pricing of the base game, not the content of it. So in conclusion, what can we learn from the situation? So in conclusion, he talked about the Elden Ring expansion and tried to say that FromSoft might scam people. Now you may ask yourself, why would he say that? Well, I have the answer for you. Because he reads malice in questionable intent due to his rampant neuroticism. You can think of it like this. As much as he questions every questionable chat message, he also does this with reputable entities. A company that has sold DLC for $20 suddenly raises their price for their next additional content for their game to double the price of before. DSP is not like, oh, of course I'm gonna get more content out of this. No. Oh, maybe they're trying to rip everyone off. This would get out after the fact. Like, what the hell? Anyway, but he doesn't think that far. His future thinking is hindered. He doesn't think that far. He's gonna make an assumption. He's gonna make an accusation. And of course, when people rightly criticize him for it, he's gonna deflect. There is no indication that FromSoft would rip people off, like I said. And it hasn't been the case in the past, and the expansion isn't even out yet. Golden rule, you shouldn't judge something that hasn't even been released yet, but unfortunately he can't keep his mouth shut. So what happens? He tries to twist the argument into Elden Ring defenders are mad at me because they think I said something that I didn't say, when that is only a convenient half-truth. Because that half-truth goes in tandem with the argument that he stated that FromSoft is purposely inflating the price of the base game when that's just not the case, accusing the developers of scamming their customers. Then he projects that other people need to do more research when all the research necessary to avoid being called out like this would have been available to him. Unfortunately, his intellectual horizon of information sourcing is limited to Twitter, headlines, and YouTube chat. So he tries to lie about it post-hoc instead of apologizing, refuses to see how he's wrong, builds up a straw man instead and attacks it, sidesteps the criticism by trying to refute part of the criticism, a fallacy of composition where saying that if part of something is wrong, the whole must be wrong as well, and ends on seemingly being the victor of the situation. Issue being, he ends up looking like a pigeon that tried to play chess, knocked over all the chess pieces, crapped over all of the board, and then declared himself the winner. So that's essentially what DSP did. Now, as a special ending, we're going to do something that PewDiePie has done a lot in the past, so this might actually work, it might not work, let's see. Bonus cope. Let's go.
Well, the only thing that I will say about this, and this is not personally towards Rich or anyone, but here's what I really don't get. So I'll be on a stream talking very normally about a topic, and somehow it gets skewed into drama, and now it's drama for everyone for like a week, and everyone's talking about it. I'm like, but what are you even talking about? There was like no drama. Like, just perfect example, the whole Elden Ring DLC situation from Wednesday, where literally I said nothing negative, and somehow people think it was negative and sent people, they misposted it, misrepresented me, and now it's drama, right? There's other content creators who constantly have drama stuff happen, and no one ever covers it like that. Ever. Right? Like every once in a while, someone tries to get me to hear. Did you hear about the drama about Wings? Did you hear about the drama about Review Tech? Did you hear about the drama about this guy or that guy? And I'm like, no, I don't pay attention. But the stuff that it sounds like that's going on with them is way more drama or any. So you would think that would hook people and people would be all over that shit, right? But they're not. They're just not. But if it's me, if I fart on stream, it's like, oh my God, did you hear that Phil dropped a nuclear bomb on his stream? Right? Like, no, I farted. It's a normal thing that people do. You know, it's a natural occurrence. It's unfortunate when it happens. It smells, but it happens. But for me, that's like the end of everything, that I did something like that. But then another creator does something insanely overdramatic, you know, bad drama, but it's gone in 10 seconds. Not a big deal. Right? It's just, it kills me. You know? I don't get it. Like, there's been drama things with Review Tech and others that have been way more drama-esque, you know, than anything I've ever done, but I'm the one that gets all the ire of the internet for some odd reason.
So this is essentially what you would call a bona fide rationalization. People are all over that shit. Wings is constantly being talked about being an enjoyer of children. LTG has recently been accused of the same. I think that Daniel Larson has been incarcerated, don't quote me on that. Chris Chan is still being followed. Rakita is regularly being made fun of, RTU is being made fun of and constantly talked about. So again, this is all just in his mind. And the rest of the podcast is essentially him just coping about not being a drama streamer, saying that he didn't make drama streams about side-scrollers. He did. And he mentioned them all throughout 2023 and also just mentioned them again. Good job, DSP. DSP, the remaining last bastion against lolcowism. Deeply convinced that he's absolutely not a lolcow. Making up reality as it goes. Well, you know what they say. Let snorting pigs lie and just call them out on your video because you make too much money from that. Even though my video is not monetized. Anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching and I hope I see you again this year. Hopefully. In one of Meerkat's streams or on Discord. Always try to be the best version of yourself and have a great day.